영원하신 부부의 인을 맺기 위한 거룩한 식전 후에 당신의 무한한 사랑과 축복이 같이 하시옵소서. 영계와 육계가 주시하는 가운데 저희들은 이 역사적인 새로운 가정의 전통을 세우기 위하여 순환의 길을 거쳐오면서 이 길을 개척해 나왔습니다. 이는 당신의 창조 이상 가운데 본연에 타락하지 아니했던 선남 선녀를 중심 삼고 선한 자리에서 아담 하와가 하나님을 중심 삼고 하나님의 사랑에 의하여 참다운 축복의 한날이 있었던들 하나님을 중심 삼은 선의 부모여
My name is Abigail, or Abby Sayre.
Have you ever stolen anything?
Yeah, I've definitely stolen things.
Do you want to talk about what you've stolen?
Sure. I mean, just like silly, I think there was a time when I was much younger when I sort of got a thrill out of like stealing things at convenience stores, like lipstick or stuff like that. I guess it's hard to say. It was like a long process of leaving, but by the time I was probably 24, I was like out and not looking back. I remember still going to church, like definitely still going to these big ceremonies at the Manhattan Center, and right across the street from Madison Square Garden. And my family was definitely still in, and so they're still in to a certain degree. So I still, I still have to sort of manage those worlds too.
Well, Mars Ethel, the last time he came in, he said, "Oh, next time you come in, I'm going to take you out to dinner." Well, number 5, so many new people that they wanted to have with the guys again. It's like I told Mars.
What is your name?
Kazu Watanabe, or Kazuaki Francisco Watanabe.
What's your favorite color?
Blue.
What kind of blue?
All kinds of blue.
Have you read Bluettes by Maggie Nelson?
No.
I recommend that book. It's about falling in love with the color blue.
Okay.
Have you seen Blue by Derek Jarman?
Yes. Any more blue questions? The thing about the church is that it defines everything about you. Or it can, and it did to me. So that I had no practical understanding of the world. So my life purpose has always been defined by the church, which is basically absolute filial piety and duty to the Messiah and to my parents. I had no practical sense of what I was supposed to do, and I didn't care.
What is your name?
My name is Mitchell Ildo Henkin.
What bothers you for petty reasons?
Oh, man. It's cool if I take a moment to think about this.
Sure.
I think out of things that bother me for petty reasons, I think that generally so many things bother me, but then the more I think about them, the less petty they seem. I honestly don't know when I left because it was such a slow process. I assume I left when I left New York, but I think bits and pieces of it are still stuck to the bottom of my shoes. I was conditioned very well. Like, condition. Like, I was a good dog. But, like, it was all, like, it was all unconscious. It was, like, I had a gentle leader on and someone was tugging my nose in whatever direction I needed to go, and I was fine with it.
Yes, they're not. They're thinking about hi there. Where's your name tag?
Reverend Moon started his church in the 1950s in Korea, and then the doctrine of the church, as I was taught, is that my parents, were fallen people. They were not of a pure lineage, and that they had to, sort of atone for that by getting an arranged marriage and going through certain rites and rituals to cleanse themselves and start this new family, and that my sister and I were born because of all that sacrifice and because of the spiritual conditions they made and the things they chose to do by following Reverend Moon. My sister and I would be born different. We would be born special and sinless. I was expected to remain a virgin until marriage. I was expected to have an arranged marriage, have children. It's definitely not a choice not to have children, which was another incredible, bombshell revelation to me as a young woman. I was like, oh my God, this is a choice. I don't have to do that. It was pretty mind-blowing. And you're expected to do God's will and sort of restore the earth to its original glory before it was put asunder by Adam and Eve and all the,
We, as second generation, had to be perfect. We were the perfect generation. In their eyes, we were going to be the gods of the world. But with little g's. They did a lot of specifications. Gods with little g's, like leaders. But still using the word God. And they believed the world was going to be perfect by the year 2000. When it wasn't perfect by the year 2000, it was our fault, and we had to do a bunch of conditions and stuff in order to correct that, and then it was going to be perfect by another year, and it just kept on, And I think that tied into a lot of my schizophrenic episodes as well. If you're told you're going to be a god your whole life and you go a little bit crazy, you're going to think you're a god, I guess.
Let's see. What did I think as a true believer? I'm going to be honest, it's hard. It's hard for me to even recall something like that because I don't believe any of that bullshit anymore. And so there's a part of you, I almost don't remember. I just remember feeling really, really sad a lot of the time. Whether you're sad about the fact that you've broken God's heart and you've done, you've sinned and you've done something so awful that it's caused pain, or whether you're sad that you feel the church, I'm sure I felt at some time that the church wasn't living up to its ideals, so I was sad about that. And probably in time I was also just really deep, I don't know, I remember the last time that I really truly believed it was when I got my heart completely broken. So I just remember feeling I'm tired of feeling this way. But I definitely still believed at that point, so I just knew I was tired.
The most significant event or moment that I can at least symbolically point to for that kind of break between old and new is probably my divorce, which was a marriage arranged through the church, and which lasted several years after already leaving the church ideologically or in any practical sense, except that I have this relationship that lasted existed only because of the church.
I got matched, and I realized over the course of that matching, it's just I am terrified of this person. I think I really like them. I might even love them. I don't know. I shielded myself from feeling everything because I was not allowed to feel that before.
I felt more pressure from the community, I think, to go through with that than my parents. My parents were pretty patient with me. And I think to their credit, I grew up in a house where education was the expectation. It was expected that I would go to college and it was perfectly acceptable for me to do that first and to wait, for matters of matrimony and all these things. And I really think that is a huge deal. Not everyone got those opportunities. I know other people were pushed into fundraising or to get married really, really young. I know people that were matched at like 18. So I never had that pressure necessarily from my parents, but they did hint. They were sort of like, let us know when you're ready to find your special someone. And
where's my partner? Tracy, partner, Shane, partner, go! 1, 2. Raise your hand. I'm gonna catch somebody. Who needs a partner? Quickly.
I just collapsed into myself and I couldn't function around this person. And it was after, like, she broke it, or she made it so I would break it off. It was a really weird thing. I'm not going to get into that. But it was after that stopped working out that I think I had it. I realized that I was ruined.
When we were in high school, we had a band, and it was a really shitty ska band, which is embarrassing as an adult in 2018, but nevertheless, it was a very close group of friends. We would have practice several times a week, and I often look back on those times pretty fondly. A lot of it is embarrassing because it's so tied to the church, and the music itself was quite bad. Some of the lyrics make us cringe because some of them reflect Mooney ideology, either purposefully or accidentally.
I don't know what birthday this was. We were watching The Perfect Storm. I didn't want A Perfect Storm, by the way, for my birthday, but my dad loves that movie, and he'll get it any chance he could get. And we were watching the movie, and my dad was really angry at my mom about how much she spent on the birthday, and they were having this big old argument. My brother is trying to watch the movie, Levi, big brother, and he tells my dad, kindly shut up. My dad just walks over and stomps on his chest, and he had trouble breathing for a while. My mom called the police. The police came. At that point, my mom was starting to take my dad's side, and then the police kind of took my dad's side too. It was very much if my kid told me to shut up, I'd kick his ass too, sort of deal. And that was my birthday.
One thing that sucks about being a part of something like this is that you feel like your life is taken from you. Like even your memories aren't safe. So again, it's like I have to sort of think about that girl and have ultimate compassion for her because she never should have been put in those situations. I never should have been asked to confess certain things about my private thoughts and life to male adults who weren't my family. You know what I mean? There's so many lines that were crossed, and I was taught some really unhelpful things, and I was but at the same time, I sang songs in the woods. We ran in the woods, and we walked through waterfalls, and we played music together. We sat around with guitars and really enjoyed making things. We were artists. We were, I don't know.
Son, I can't wait till I'm 3.
Eric. Okay, it's not time to cut it. Okay.
Hey, lick that knife.
You can lick it.
Wendy, looking pretty good, Wendy. Don't make
So I feel like I have a degree of wisdom, but also an extreme naivety, both existing within me at the same time. Not everyone can say they were married for 6 years and divorced before they were 30. The flip side of that is now in my late 20s as a divorcee who's only had one relationship in his life, one romantic sexual relationship in his life. Complete naivety and not knowing how anything works in terms of dating, in terms of romantic love, in terms of sex. As someone whose a complete understanding of life has been erased, have to question everything. And I'm still struggling to find out what the point of any of this is.
People need other people. You know, it provides you with a sense that you're loved and cared about. And so I definitely lost some of that. I definitely lost this sort of like thing that I could tap back into, where people have known me since I was 5 years old, like adults in my life, you know, that have helped raise me, and experiences that I had with people. I chose to close the door on all that, and I chose to remove myself. I wasn't pushed or running away from that. Like, I was running towards life. Like, I felt like I was going towards this like wide, expansive world where like it was pretty scary. Like, freedom is terrifying, right? Like, it's scary to like realize like, oh, I'm alone in the world. There is no God necessarily, you know. Like the whole story, that whole sort of like infrastructure that I had of the world, not true. It all sort of crumbles. What we're left with is like, that means I can make choices for like right now for my life. I can make the life that I want, and it can be messy and beautiful and full of contradictions and not clean and not pure. And, you know, there's no sort of like utopia that I'm hoping for.
I'm still trying to find a place something to fill that God hole. Like, I found me, and me is great, and it is big, and a lot of the time it does feel fulfilling, but it's a process trying to find solace in the emptiness. And I do I built myself up, and what I do, I did because of me, and what I do for me. But it's weird having all the answers and then not.